hope you enjoyed the last 2 days. Um, and we're kind of in the home stretch. And so today we will be largely finishing. Okay. Michelle says finishing. Today we'll be finishing mail and ballots. Now, I do want to say for a minute what an amazing accomplishment that is, because we have almost 50% more mail-in ballots than the next closest county. So if somebody asks you, why is Montgomery County still counting votes when other jurisdictions are finished? One of the reasons is that we have lots of mail-in ballot voters. When everything is said and done, roughly, give or take 1% or 2, 1/3 of our voters will have voted by mail, 1/3 early voting, and 1/3 election day. A little bit more on election day. I believe that mail-in voting will exceed early voting, but that gives you a sense as to the volume that we are dealing with. And if anyone says to you, as some people have said to me, but the deadline for certifying was on November the 15th. I'm going to say this with our board counsel right here, because I know that I'm on solid ground here. That is not the deadline for certification. That is, in fact, I mean, the law does say certify on that day, which is really easy if you don't have the volume of ballots that we do. That's actually the first day where we can certify. Because remember that 10 days after the election is the deadline for receiving mail-in ballots that are postmarked on election day. So November 15th was literally the first day we could have certified if all our mail-in ballots were done. If we wanted all of our mail-in ballots to be done, given the volume of ballots that we have, our voters would need to submit them to us a lot earlier than they generally do. But as you guys know, we have a big surge of them near election day. If we get 100,000 ballots, I don't know exactly how many we get in the last week, but if you get a lot of ballots in the last week, you can't process them all in one, in a short time. Anyway, bottom line is, you guys have done amazing work. We've gotten an incredible amount done. We still have a bit more left to do. In addition to finishing mail-in ballots today, we have provisional ballots to work on. The board secretary and I will be meeting tomorrow to discuss additional provisional ballots that are recommended to either be rejected in whole or in part. We will be back here on Monday working on provisional ballots, and the schedule after that kind of depends on what we get done today and what we get done on Monday. It is our goal to finish as soon as we can. But obviously accuracy is more important than speed. So second thing I wanted to say is that I received another suggestion relating to the elections from one of you who wanted to remain anonymous and submitted it through an intermediary, which is fine. The suggestion was to have essentially a county type ballot for when we do our duplications for those who are out of precinct. And I will say that it would make the job of in this room a lot easier. But we do have a legal requirement to have precinct level reporting. It's a relatively recent legal requirement, but it's one the legislature feels pretty strongly enough about that they put it into law. And the way we do precinct reporting is by ballot style. So if you're wondering why is it that we are duplicating ballots from one precinct ballot style to another, even if the ballot is identical, that's the reason. The reason is so that we can have precinct level reporting. But I appreciate the suggestion. Happy to get other suggestions. you've all seen a lot, both in this room and early voting on election day. So if you have other suggestions, please feel free to pass them along. We're definitely interested. We think our elections run very smoothly and very well, but we think there's always room for improvement. So if there's things that you have to suggest, please do suggest. Before I get to my public health message, I have a nutritional message, I guess is the way I put it, which is that I brought today some baked goods from Great Harvest Bakery in Rockville. If any of you are familiar with that particular bakery. Lisa Marino of our staff was kind enough to help set it up for me. And so when you take a break, please don't go take a break because they're but when you take a break, if you're interested in some pumpkin cake or some ginger cookies, you should get them before I eat them. So, although I will have some competition, some of our staff have taken a liking to it as well. So anyway, just a small token of my appreciation for all of you. I wish I could buy you all lunch. I am not in a position to do that, but I do appreciate you all being here. And then once again, if any of you don't feel well, we appreciate your being here, but you'll be doing yourself and all of us a favor if you take a day off. And not spread illness in this room. We've been fortunate that we've had a full room, I think, every day of canvas. So which quite frankly is a great tribute to our staff that we're able to do that, because they have been planning ahead. They've been making sure that when someone else is there to be there. But if it does turn out that for health reasons, you need a day off, please take it. We want all of you to enjoy the days you're here and come back, but we also want you to enjoy the days in between. So thank you for that, and I'll pass the microphone.
Thank you, Dave. Good morning. Just very briefly, what is Michael, Selection Director for Montgomery County Board of Elections. I have nothing major to add to what David said. Just many thanks to all of you for sticking with us to go through this process, which is lengthy one, but that's how the canvas looks like in Montgomery County. Ciao.
Good morning, everybody. So we are going to start with mail-in ballots and finish mail-in ballots. We're going to start with the bigger batches. There's some batches still left of 50, but everything is going to start coming down. So it's really important that you guys work together and that you count everything you have, because not all the batches coming to you are going to be of 50. They're going to start going down from 50 all the way to 1. Okay? Yes, there's a few that are 1. We're going to start with the bigger ones, get those out of the way, and then you guys can tackle the little tiny ones at the end. But be careful when you count. If your count is off, raise your hand, call one of the runners will verify that your count is off, and then they will mark the sheet and initial that it is off on the sheet, okay? At the very end, I need you to recount. If you guys think you have an empty envelope, I need you guys to raise your hand and recount your ballots again. We've had some that have said, I have an empty envelope, but then the ballots actually match up with the envelopes. So if you think you have an empty envelope, count them. If you flip through the envelopes, the mail-in ballot regular envelopes have a circle in the middle. And if it's empty, it'll be gray. If it's not empty, you'll see the ballot through it. So you can do a double check before you even start, okay? Once we finish with that, I brought in the accepted in full provisionals to work on, okay? Does anybody have any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Baked goods are clearly available for the board as well. I want to make that clear for the record. I mean, you should have announced that. I'll be happy. Yes, and apparently they didn't get it. I don't know what you did to. I just handed it to Lisa and she took care of it. I thought that little extra energy.
Oh, okay, then that's when they find it. Yeah, yeah. I call them, yeah. I think it was.
How about one night? I don't know how they write the. And then that.
They're taking them because they're taking them 10 days after election day. But the oath is before.
So we have to. Yeah.
Yeah, in just a few minutes, we are, when Diane gets back, we are going to be looking at mail-in ballots that the staff believes are untimely for us to reject. And do you need us to initial, can we do a motion for a whole bunch of them at a time? How do you want us to do this?
We'll start going down the line. If anyone has a question that it could be fine with, and that will get pulled out, and we'll decide whether you want to accept it or not.
Okay,
And we'll put them all in one tray.
I'm sorry? Yes, yes. The hidden postmark or the ambiguous. Well, didn't we play this game in the primary? Well, not only that, but in the primary, the difference between 14 and 15 is easier to spot than the difference between 5 and 6. Or you know, now I mean, obviously the smudged postmark, that's the issue. So. I will be back in just a moment. We're live.
Okay.
One of those. There's not a no here.
I'm turning the mic back on. Okay, Kevin, we're ready when you are.
Okay. So. These are all, according to staff, untimely. Which would have either, they would have a postmark after November 5th and or an oath that has been signed after. So of course, you first look at the postmark. If it's timely based upon the postmark, then it's timely. It's after, if it's got a time postmark that's after the 6th, then it's untimely. After the 5th, excuse me. And I can see this is going to get very interesting right away. Because we have our stamp issue right off the bat.
Oh, no, they never fixed it, gee.
Well, no, we don't, it was fixed in some places and perhaps not others. We're gonna find out. We shall see. So,
All right, then.
and then I'm sure you guys know, if there's no postmark, we look at the signature date. If there's no postmark and no signature date, we ask Kevin what to do.
Okay, so let's use this as an example.
All right.
So this is, the oath is signed on November 1st. Yeah. It has the circle that it went through Suburban on November 6th. It has that it was received at the Board of Elections on November 6th.
And you wonder how can all the elections happen?
Right.
That's the question.
Well, that was the question posed during the primary.
Yes.
And you all decided that that stamp did not reflect when it actually entered the postal stream.
But I think we had a limit to that, right? I think it was like a 1 day, was it a 1 day? Was it a 1 day limit?
Yeah.
So in other words,
Same day limit.
right, so in other words, if we had this very same ballot with a signature on 11/1 and a marking on November 7th, I believe that what we did in the primary said that wasn't good enough because it could have been put in the mail on November 6th and stamped on November 7th.
But if it's stamped on November 6th, then.
Which means it could have been placed in the mail stream on November 5th.
Right, but only because it was received on November the 6th. If it was received on November the 7th, different deal. Oh, you can't hear it. Okay, I'm sorry. Come down here for a moment. Okay. We are trying to relive the primary here and remember what we did in the primary. The issue here is we have a received stamp on November 6th. We have a postal mark also on November 6th. The chances of those two things being the same, I mean, we could ask staff, but we thought that in the primary, we thought that was highly unlikely that it was put in the mail on November 6th and received at the board on November 6th as well. That meant that meaning that this marking could very easily have been a marking that was added when it got to Gaithersburg, not necessarily from where the voter was coming from. This voter, it appears, is from precinct 423, which is in Rockville, I believe. Or close to it, if not in Rockville. So again, makes it an unlikely scenario that the voter went to Gaithersburg, put it in the mail, and that it got processed so quickly that it went to the board. I believe in the primary, we said if it was November 6th, that we were willing to believe that it was put in the mail stream on November, by November 5.
Yeah.
But that if it was November 7th, we would not. Now, I'm only vaguely remembering this, so I'm asking all of you what you remember,
No,
what you
that's
remember
correct.
as well.
I remember it distinctly.
Okay. So then the question is the board's view still the same? I'm not sure I have a reason for our view to be different.
It's over.
Okay,
I'm right there with Ahmed. Whatever Ahmed says on this,
after she agreed with you. After she agreed, that's okay. I'll cause some trouble back. Don't be messing with Ami. Unless you want to come in tomorrow and do provisional ballots. Okay, I think that means that we have to be nice to them.
Nice to meet
Yeah,
you.
yeah. Yes, yes, yes. Oh, no. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
Very sorry to hear that. What happened? If you don't mind saying.
We were coming home from dinner, we got company in our car, and somebody made a left turn without yielding.
Oh,
And I think it totaled his car.
oh my gosh.
And he was over there in 21.
What kind of car?
What kind of car?
Yeah.
was it?
Yeah,
Somebody, I think white SUV.
okay. You're saying, I'm sorry, that was your car.
No,
No, that was the other car.
that was the other car.
What kind of car were you in?
Big one,
Okay.
big one.
And you're saying that the white SUV was traveling with sufficient speed to total a big election?
Police, although the insurance people have to.
Ah. Yeah. Probably a little shook up.
Decided that they should do it.
Oh, no.
He's okay. He could have his hands on the steering wheel. He was fine. I ended up blocking my face on the front of the car.
Oh, no. And you're still here.
No, I'm all right. It's just, it was not, there was no way it could have been prevented. The police came and the other car was involved.
Wow. Well, thank you for being here. I'm sorry it happened to you.
So much.
It would have been a pretty good excuse if you wanted to take a day off. You know, we do have a quorum without you. I think you've earned the early pass today if you want it. Yeah, yeah. If you want the early pass today, I think you get it. I say that without having solicited anyone else to see what they went through in the last 24 hours. Yeah,
But it took, I mean, it took forever.
I'm sure it did.
Police, the other people didn't speak English. Oh, we didn't, so they had to get a police person who spoke Spanish.
Was this pen here?
It was with them.
Oh, okay. Jennifer, was this your pen? Okay, because Diane had her own.
Are those all the same thing? Same issue? But all received on the phone.
And are they all postmarked in the same post office? All Gaithersburg? Because we have to have a chat with them. We already had a chat with them, but we have to have another chat with them.
This isn't the situation where they may have. No, it doesn't matter. You got it. I guess I don't understand the logistics, so they stand the blog thing, and then.
So what happens is the original post office is not marking it.
That's correct. I understand.
Okay, then it goes to Gaithersburg, where they are stamping it in.
Right.
And then they are delivering it to us the same day they stamp it in. And we are concluding that it's not possible that the voter came to the post office handed it to them, they stamped it in and delivered it to us all on the same day.
That I agree with.
Okay,
It's just I'm trying to understand the logistics, so they can vote, stamp it in and deliver it to us the same day.
I believe so. But why, you know,
Well, people wait till the very last minute.
well, I think that's human nature for a lot of people. But my real question is, why did our meeting not end this practice?
Well, maybe.
Yeah, start going through and just ups and downs. So you got, everything was.
What you're gonna wanna look at first.
Seven. Seven. Six. This, can we put this on the side? Or this was flat on the. Wow, this came from Atlanta.
Right, it's postmarked November 6th from Atlanta. So I'm gonna start passing, these are not in any order, right? Okay, I'm passing this down.
Yeah. Check.
They want to count that and leave it out there.
Yes, when it gets to Margie, the only question is whether, if anybody finds one where you say, no, this should be accepted. Or it might be accepted, then stop, raise your hand and we'll take a look. It is postmarked in Atlanta on November 6th. That's late.
Oh, good, okay.
This falls under the category.
No, we're not trying, no, these are all rejects. We're not trying, we are not trying to justify it.
These are all accepts, so I'm gonna give these back.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, not only that, this person signed it on the 29th.
Some of them, like.
But they sent it retired.
Well, unless, and we can't do anything about it today, unless it's sat at the post office for 5 days. And we can't do anything about it today, but we sure as heck can say something to them later. I mean, sign on the 4th, the voter could have waited too long. But,
So here's one that's on the 6th there.
received on the 7th, though. We said they would had to be received by the board on the 6th.
And it's from the meeting.
I will just point out, this is a good example. This one also doesn't have an F. Yeah, but this one came from precinct 512. Which is closer to your neck of the woods. I don't know exactly where it is, but the 5th election district is basically along Route 29. And yet it's stamped on the 6th in Gaithersburg. So, I think there's a high likelihood that this voter sent it in a timely fashion, but they delayed in sending it to us. But I don't know that we have a basis to say anything about it.
Besides what they.
Right, but I'm saying that there's gonna be other ones. This one is from precinct 1336. Silver Spring, Wheaton territory. I mean, again, it's gonna not,
I mean, the ultimate sign.
right. So we don't, we have to fix this problem with the post office.
Well, we tried to fix it, but.
Yes. Yes, ma'am. Right, we also have some that are stamped on the sixth and received on the seventh. We also, okay, we also noticed that they're coming from precincts that are very far from Gaithersburg, making it less likely that the voter went to the Gaithersburg post office to mail their ballot. But I think that I think the conclusion that we were reaching was I think we had decided, the law says we go by the postmark. We know that the postmark may not be as good a measure as the law had anticipated when they did not anticipate the post office marking things as they arrive. But we can't, if it's stamped, if it's postmarked on the sixth and delivered on the sixth, received by the board on the sixth, we feel like we have a pretty good leg to stand on to say it was mailed on the fifth or before. If it was a day later, we're not as certain. Because even though I would say there's a good chance that a lot of these ballots were mailed on time, we can't prove it. I think that was the boundary that we kind of came to for the primary, why we had the 1 day rule. The law says go by the postmark. But the law is antiquated. And well, maybe it is for us to decide, because who else will decide? Well, we should get the legislature to fix it. If you want, I mean, I don't remember how you voted in the primary, but I would bet that you did not object in the primary.
Oh, I'm sure I did.
Well, let's ask Kevin, because I sure as heck don't remember.
I think I-
Whatever.
No, I'm not sure. It's the already rejected some that really were.
Exactly.
And I can't fix it.
Now, this one was mailed on the sixth, almost like,
They may have put it in a box that's labeled.
it's certainly possible, but a box laid on the fifth doesn't help.
Sorry, I was going to give it a try. Did you have a question?
Yes. Yes. Question is, what was Diane's position on the postmarks in the primary? Because Diane is remembering things differently than I do.
Well, no, I'm not saying there's any number. I'm saying I would guess.
I don't remember what Diane's position was, but as a reminder, it only takes one person to accept the ballot,
Well,
so.
that's where it always right. So I know I went
Right.
on record. and I think-
Some of our members
Let me
are
finish- let me just finish my
okay, go
sentence.
ahead.
I don't think that we could be. We might be seeing one vote for the state voting for the same candidate who untimely ballots are not. That number one is an equal protection.
We don't know that the other post offices are doing what ours are doing. So we don't know that the equal protection issue might be rejecting them.
Noted. One person votes to accept and it gets accepted.
I mean, I know they're gonna get affected. I would be remiss not to. My position.
I understand. So noted.
My position is pretty simple. If I feel that the ballot was submitted in a timely fashion, I'm going to accept it. The legislature did not anticipate this problem.
And I think they should be tested.
Oh, I agree. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to reject the ballot in the meantime. If the voter gave us a timely ballot and I feel like we can prove it, I'm going to accept it. If you've been on a jury before, you would know that you can convict someone based on circumstantial evidence. And we have circumstantial evidence that these ballots were timely if it's the standard for a beyond a reasonable doubt criminal conviction, it certainly can be the standard for a much lesser standard for accepting a vote. If you can send someone to jail on circumstantial evidence, we can accept a vote based on circumstantial evidence. Criminal law is usually harder than election law.
You know, I, you know how we are. And here is where we would have a real debate if we had any election result that was already closed. I'm sorry,
Yeah,
and what?
well, and yet,
These would be
and
litigated.
yet David Blair did not go to court in order to solve this problem.
Yeah.
If he had, now he wouldn't have necessarily won his election,
And you know.
but you know, well, you shouldn't be, because they work for Mr. Blair, they don't work for us. Our opportunity to affect this is by accepting ballots. So if you want to go to court and challenge our accepted ballots, feel free. I would love to have a court ruling. Because I'd like to have a court direct the postal service to stop doing it.
Yeah, I'd like to legislate. To look at it. And mind you, this has nothing to do with if it was a Democrat or Republican vote.
Well, but it does have to, but it does have to do with a will, that has to do with a willingness to reject a ballot that where there's more, where it's more likely than not that the voter voted in a timely way because of a technical requirement. That's what it's about.
I mean, me personally, I would accept all ballots that had a that had a what? That had a postmark of a 6 on the grounds that they would probably put it the night of the 5th. But, you know, yeah, I think election law, but I understand what the law is, and I don't think we can necessarily change it.
Right, we are making an exception when we think we have sufficient evidence that the ballot was mailed timely, you know, and, you know.
Except the postal note on this.
No, it's a post-it note. I think what's happened is that they are saying that that's what that says. But well, what do we think it says? We think it's a 5? I mean, we don't know who wrote the post-it note. So I think it's our job to, you know.
Yes, I think, well, it certainly could be a comment. And I will argue that the argument for it being a 5 is that little line is, I see it as great. Maybe it's not.
Well, I would have to see what a 6 looks like. So do we have an example of one of these with a 6? Right, that's what I'm trying to see. Let's put this one aside until we get one that has a 6 on it. Put it down for just a second, because I need to add to my legislative list about the postmarks.
That's clearly at 7.
That's not seven.
No, this one's
Right.
here.
Oh, yeah.
Fine.
I want to, yeah. You can ask, they have a stack down there. Yeah. But if these are in chronological order, we will not get there. I'm sorry? Yeah. Don't kill. I'll see what, are you coming Monday?
Yes.
I'll see what I can do.
You got it. Okay, so you know that I wasn't.
You weren't soliciting? Sure you were, but that's okay. I don't think we're gonna get another 6. I mean, yeah, I'm gonna do that right away. Okay. So here is what a 6 looks like. Now, I don't know if we have one that says 5 because they're not in this pile.
I will argue that that's a 5 now.
Okay.
It only takes two.
It only takes one.
I think that's a 5 and not.
Okay, do you have a pen? We need, no, leave the sticky and just change it to what you think it says and we'll give it to Kevin.
I think that's a 5 and not a 6. Can I take a look too? I want
Only
something interesting.
if you wanna, she wants an argument.
Yeah, I can argue with Diane.
Okay, feel free. Yeah, that's fine.
I think so, is I think there's a little bitty angle at the bottom of that semi-straight line.
But we certainly can put it up, let everybody look at it. Okay,
I think that's a 5 and not a 5 instead of a 6, yeah.
all right, so we're about to send down a ballot where there's a sticky on it that we believe came from staff in their effort to figure out what the number is. Ami and Daniel have concluded that they think it is a 5 and not a 6, which would make it timely. But we're giving everyone an opportunity to look and see what you think, even though only one member can actually cause it to be counted. We just want everybody to have an opportunity to weigh in, and then also perhaps someone will have something that will convince others that they are, of something different. So. It is, it is actually, yes, it's under the second E in election mail.
Can I feel 6?
That's what I just, actually, I think I sent it down. Darn.
This is kind of awfully rolling to me like I said. I think okay, thank you.
We don't have an example of a 5 because that would have not come to us.
Yeah,
So you only have an example of a 6.
that's a copy.
That one I couldn't figure out.
I was looking at it. Well, the 6. I mean, it's in the-
Yeah, it says that. No, it doesn't, it doesn't say 6 or 8. It says 6, yeah, that's 6.
Yeah.
They connected this next.
Yeah, too late.
That I think should be counted.
I think that one should be.
I totally agree with you.
I don't understand why it's not.
Yeah, so give it to Kevin, let's do whatever it is we do.
Yeah, I mean, it's, well, no, what's this?
It's when it was processed by the board. It's when it went through the sort.
Oh, you're saying it went through the, so why is it going through the sorter on the 6th and being marked received on the 8th? That's a big problem.
Yeah. So there's no postmark on it. The oath is timely.
And the oath is signed.
So, wait a second, is that our sorter or someone else's? Says A, is that Anne Arundel's sorter?
So that's an error.
A,
Let me go sick.
I do want to know whether we are marking things received days after we receive them, because that would also be a problem.
I just kind of lumped them together for me. I can see that I saw the see the look good.
So far, we've only had a problem with the gate. We've taken it back to.
Yeah.
You could get stamped.
Yeah.
I mean, struggling, especially with something on the fridge, and we're receiving on the 8th.
What does this say? Is that 6? I guess that's a 6. It looks kind of large.
I think it's the same.
Okay.
So that's struggling to move, it's something on the 6th, and we're receiving on the 8th.
Yeah, but if it's.
Where are we on the, on the ballot that we sent down?
6.
The one that I sent down that we thought that some think is a 5. Where are we and what do other people think? No, the whole idea is that we have a conversation. The whole idea was for us to have a conversation about that ballot because one member can make it be counted. So where is it? And where is the sample that we distributed with it? The whole idea was that we pulled one from the same post office in order to compare it. That was the purpose of the second ballot. Did you tell, did you? Yeah.
That's sometimes a day.
Okay. Okay. I would like the ballot back after you guys are done with it so that we can have a conversation.
Anne Arundel County.
Okay,
Anne Arundel County on the sixth.
And they mail it to us.
okay,
So what are we?
I think it's time.
It's timely because if they processed it on the sixth, they would have received it before then.
Yeah. And by law, we go by
Right,
no postmark, you know.
right. Okay, okay.
Now, I have a question. This is the Chicago, Illinois post office stamp that just says November 2020.
No, that's what it is. That's the date.
Oh,
The arrow.
okay.
The arrow is the date.
Right, this is one of
Yeah, we
those
saw
that-
that in the Blair,
2 years now.
Blair, Elridge.
Yeah,
What day did you see that?
I'll say that.
So hang on. Where are we on that ballot? Okay, has Margie had a chance to look at it? Okay, let's stop for a moment what we're doing and let's talk about that ballot. Yes, please. And I want to also show it on the camera.
This is the ballot that I'm.
Right. That's a sample so that we can see what the sixth looks like.
I think it says 5, not 6. And I'd also like to see it. But I don't know.
You know, how will we get one? Because it wouldn't come to us.
Yeah.
It would be, you know, because the timely ones are not coming to us.
A little hard to get a sample. I just think.
It's impossible to have it. But the 4 amplification is clearly a 6 to me.
Well, yeah, let us use it.
We'll have to get it close up
Got it.
and turn the light up.
Good idea. Have to find it. I don't think that's clear at all. Because where the six would be is right where the E is. But that's what you're gonna want to leave it right on top like it is. Don't, if you move it, someone else has to then do the same thing over again.
It's off, everything is around like it's said. I think it has a little bit of an angle, so I think it's a 5.
All right, so I believe it is now in the right spot.
Yeah, I think it has a little bit of an angle there, so I think it's a 5.
All right.
It's ambiguous.
Oh, clearly doesn't matter.
I don't think anything's.
Okay. Okay, so all right, so before we vote, I wanna,
Are we allowed to vote on it? I mean, this gets one minute or so.
I would like us to have a conversation,
Sure.
okay? After we have a conversation, it takes one member,
Okay, there you go.
okay? But I want to give each of our members an opportunity to convince our other members of whatever it is that they believe.
Mr. President, I would like to know-
So is there anyone else who needs to look at it with the extra okay, Margie, go ahead. Whoops,
Can I see this one?
yes.
Let me know when.
Okay, can we all talk together, please? Okay, Daniel,
So, Mr. President, I've been reaching 5s for almost 40 years of my life. I see. a
If,
line
if you go, you're making an ageist argument. You're,
Is that mean you know more than these young?
yeah, I was gonna say, and you're saying this at the very moment that our youngest member is looking at it.
Mr. President, I withdraw my statement. But no, on a serious note, I see, the east, I see a line. And I see a curve. What do you think, Ron? So.
It's hard, give me a second.
Obviously, it's clear. But I do see a line. And I
You're saying a straight line.
see it straight.
Where?
Within the beam.
No,
At the
I
top.
want Daniel to tell me.
Yeah, at the top of the.
No, are you talking about a line, a horizontal line or a vertical line?
Horizontal line.
So you're saying at the very top of the number,
Yes.
you think you see a straight line
Yeah.
where the 6 would have had a curve.
That is correct. That's. So.
Are we in agreement that the postmark draws a 6 like this? It's not like many of us would draw a 6, but it's got this like hook at the top and it's very round.
a 6.
That's how I think their numbering system on the state.
Okay, this is what I'm just showing to our observers. This is what an actual 6 looks like from the same post office.
I think the little hook is hooked. I don't think it's straight.
And I believe that what Daniel is saying is that he believes that the line at the top,
Here, give me your piece of paper, Alex, and let me show you.
Yeah, that's a good one. Let's see. The line
Nice graphic.
has a curve from there.
right? I see what what Daniel is saying. Daniel is saying that it is not as that it doesn't curl around at the top right like this does.
Diane, let me have your pen for a second. What I see is not all that. What I see is the line coming down from the top and then going like that. I see this little corner, and that's what convinces me that it's a pond.
And let me just demonstrate how. As an engineer, my strength was not, yeah. Draw.
Okay. Can I see that one more time, Dave?
Yeah.
So what I
pay
see
attention
is
to that
clearly within the B, there was a line. Right, and to me.
You need to show everybody, please. Let's have one conversation.
What I see, so if I saw like just the tip of the line, but I do see a straight line and not a curve every time. So clearly it's not a 6.
That is the middle portion of the E.
But that's the middle portion of the E.
election.
It's the E.
It is, yeah.
Pass it, please.
Wait, I said first. I want to get-
Okay.
And then I could be done with it.
But that's what you see. Because the 6 is tilted. And then the E comes a little bit under the top curve of the 6.
You have to get really close, like right on top.
Every time I look at it, it looks more curved.
I'll have to take a look at it.
Holds Diane even.
No, it is definitely not the middle portion of the E. Because the middle portion of the E is not where the number is. The middle portion of the E comes after the number. If it is a 6, the middle portion of the E is like right there.
Yeah.
But no, that's not what they're seeing. What they're seeing, first of all, what I think Daniel is seeing is next to the E, he is seeing a straight vertical line.
That is correct. And let me see that as well.
And no, I get it. Does someone else want to see it? Oh, okay, yeah.
So I think it's curved above, but I didn't see that.
See, to me, part of the question is how straight is the 6? You know, if we,
And
Well-
stem from Gettysburg, I believe all those males are stamped with the same step or same marking, so which means the sample David had is not, well, it has to be identical, even though
It's roughly identical.
it's roughly identical to the one they watched. I don't see like. There's clearly not 100%. I don't even see, 60% comparison there. With that line that I'm received and then the line that's next to the, what you're saying is the middle portion of it. What we just said.
I don't think that I don't think it's the E from election. I think that it is next to the E from election. To me, the question is whether the completion of the loop of the six, like this over here.
I don't see, that's the thing, I don't see the completion, but I don't know.
I don't see the completion either.
And I don't know, but I don't know if that can be like, did they press hard enough on the stamp?
Well, yeah, but
Well, remember though,
We-
these are mill sorters, right? So which means that the post office is very consistent in marking, right? It may not be exact because of the position.
Right. I don't think someone is going like that.
No, it's a
You know, and without seeing the completion of the loop. The other thing is that I think this loop is substantially larger than this loop.
spending an awful lot of time.
On one vote.
We should just,
Okay, so, anyway, is there any further discussion that anyone wants to have? Okay, is there anyone who wants to accept this ballot?
Except that one.
Okay, thank you all.
What was the date of the signature on that? I don't remember, but it's on board. There.
Okay, this, you can put back in your pile. Thank you. Thank you all. Oh, yes, no, all we did was stop to deal with that ballot.
But that's an example of our problem. It's got too many. And happens all of them are like
No, no, you're right, but I want to, but I want a picture of this.
one.
Right.
We have 3 posts.
Yeah.
Well, it's an example of what the problem is.
Yes, exactly. These just look like dudes.
Yes,
Well, we got blue.
yes, but what's
Yeah.
clearly happening here is that this is being added after it gets received.
But if you got one,
These are all part of the.
Have we seen this problem in any other post office but Gaithersburg?
not so far that they are.
Okay.
Scandalous.
Okay, I wonder if they missed our meeting.
I do,
Because it gets into New York, most of these are Rochester, New York.
yeah, now we're getting. But then they're stamped in at the gate.
These students on Raleigh.
North Carolina.
This is also from, Northern New York.
Hey, Kevin. Kevin. Oh, Kevin. in either. No, I can't. November 2nd.
Well, this is the precinct that's in Bethesda. Yes, it is worse.
Not-
58.
The radio said 59 and I told her, so I'm like,
Okay, but what's your point?
but somebody-
You're now blaming a voter for using the mail?
Pressing the button. Ballot, not even on the second.
Well, how would you feel? How would you feel if we were to tell voters that they shouldn't use the US mail, they should use the drop box? I mean, the drop box is more reliable. Well, it is. Would you say that in public? No, I'm asking you about what you'd say in public. If you don't say it in public, the voters will not believe it. Your voters will not believe it. You have to say it in public if you want your voters to believe it.
I wouldn't say that until they start putting that I suggested a couple years ago. Criminal penalty associated with tampering with the drop boxes like they do in the US.
I'm pretty sure there are criminal penalties for messing with the drop box. No,
No, there's not. Not drop box specific, only the answer I was given, the blood drop I was given was with the reasoning that it's illegal to vote fraudulently.
well, and I will say the Rockville post office is not doing it, at least not so far. We haven't gotten any from Rockville. So we were successful because that was the one that was doing it before. You know, is it true that there is not a criminal penalty for messing with our drop boxes? I would have thought that there would be.
I'm sure there's a catch-all penalty.
Right,
Election interference, there's gotta be.
right, and if,
It's not what I'm talking.
but why does that make you feel to be any more secure if there was a specific drop box? As opposed to a criminal statute that already applies, it doesn't require the legislature to add anything.
Election fraud, that's what you're talking about.
No, election interference.
Which is not, they add criminal penalty.
No, election interference has criminal penalty.
Specific to the mail.
Why does that matter?
Services. When you put, there are additional penalties. When you in the US Postal
Right,
Service,
but let's face it. But let's face it,
Yeah, but he didn't say-
you and I both know that if a voter puts it in the drop box,
this is the-
we get it in a timely fashion and it will be counted. And we also know that if we send it through the post office, there's a chance that it won't. So, so why do you need something further for the drop box to be considered the more secure method and for you to say so? Because we already know from experience, from evidence, we already know that the drop box is the most reliable way to get us your ballot. Yes. I mean, we know what it matters.
Yeah, here's another one. The penalties are not as great for mail fraud. Mail fraud has additional penalties and fraud. And this is just.
Well, I would want to confirm that, but I'm pretty sure that if you, let's see what happened to the, to the people who set a drop box on fire. I'm pretty sure they're going to be prosecuted.
Yeah, no, I'm talking more about the integrity of the piece of mail that's.
You're
Because-
saying you want there to be a fraud statute that says that if you send us your ballot by, similar to mail fraud, you want election fraud to be a separate crime. Because I think hard, because think about all those people who, with all that stuff on the 2020 election and how they could have been prosecuted for election fraud when it's discovered that there was no fraud.
Somebody discovered there was no. We have
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. This is November 6th, where it was mailed. to
Virginia Beach, right?
Then it was logged into Richmond on the 8th.
Mhm.
Then it was logged into Gaithersburg. And we didn't receive it until the 12th.
Very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't been here for a couple of weeks.
Well, the bottom line is still use the Dropbox.
Well, no, not in Virginia, but in the weekend.
No, not in Virginia Beach. In Virginia Beach, the bottom line is mail it a day earlier.
Stamped in the Gaithersburg on the 9th, and received on the 12th.
We have a Gaithersburg problem.
We have the Gaithersburg. Here's another one. This is Saturday.
Must be a labor of love.
Yeah. Here's another one, mail stamped in the Gaithersburg on the 8th, and we didn't receive it until the 12th. Oh my God, look at that.
Yeah,
Why does that take 4 days?
that's Lawrence, that's Lawrence.
Oh my God, are we gonna have a tally at the end of it? Not at that level. So
We're gonna have a tally of the ones that were late.
But I can't tell you that we're gonna have a tally.
Like 9 of them already.
Yes.
David.
I don't. That's a question we should ask Horace. Stamped, you mean, when you say stamped, you mean the ones that have the Gaithersburg marking and are received the same day?
Here's another one that.
I'm not sure that our legislation is gonna be able to cover it to that level of detail.
That's another one that took 4 days.
Right. The real evidence is when we get the markings that are timely, but it has additional markings that are not. Those are the ones. What I really want is what's not being presented to us. It's the ones that are marked, that are postmarked in a timely way, and then the Gaithersburg people come along and postmark them in an untimely way. That is the proof that it's not the right postmark. No. They've been helpful in many ways. It's just on this one, we have a problem.
Maybe I'm taking a tally.
Well, we're never gonna have.
We're never gonna have a complete tally. We can ask the staff if there is a way to do this. We keep the envelopes, so.
Yeah, but then we need to have an additional staff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is 6 or 5. I think it's a 6.
I think it's.
I mean,
These are all the range.
This is the one.
That's a 6.
I'm not convinced. I'm not sure.
Look at this one. This is what I thought was a 5. But I think it's a 6.
That one.
That's a 6.
Well, but look at what the 6 looks like here.
Plus 6s.
but it looks very different.
Well, that's because this one, the print got jiggled. Look, there's a white line right
No,
there.
I'm aware of the line. But no, they don't. They don't look anywhere close to identical. I think this is a 5.
Okay,
And we can either have another conversation or we could just count it.
I think we just have to,
Because if you look at it,
it is a little different.
look at the bottom here. There's a gap between there and there. It's not just the line. The curve is different. The curve is,
And you get
you
your
know,
funny angle. in the
right,
bottom thing,
right.
like I said. I think it looks to me like they realized the first one was smudged, so they put a clear 6 above it.
There's no clear 6 on there at all.
So that first one we looked at, what was the first one right here?
No, that's a 5. That doesn't look, that doesn't look, no, it's not.
Well, yeah, you see that there's a whiteout on.
You stop putting your finger on it. You're changing it.
This came in from the Board of Elections of New York.
I don't think we can consider it received from there. Especially given that none of it was mailed to us.
Well, that was mailed by the Board of Elections of New York.
Understood, but
So what I'm gonna do is figure out what it was.
When did they vote on it today?
can't tell.
Doesn't have a date on the.
Doesn't have a, they didn't send us the envelope. And there's no date on the oath. That's a question for Kevin.
Yeah. Same thing.
And what's the date, and the date on the oath is?
Date is the oath here.
Is the 5th. All right, we'll ask Kevin.
These are all.
Yes.
Received by the Board of Elections of New York on November 6th.
I think that's not approvable. Also, it's a Baltimore County ballot.
Oh, okay, so that doesn't have anything to do with it.
Yeah, why did it come to us?
He's the hell out of it.
Yeah, so that all the way from New York, from the States.
And here's one, and a
Okay. Nice of them to send them all to us. Say it again. Are you saying that you want a bathroom break?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Did that on.
I will say that if we have obvious rejections, we're just gonna keep going. Okay.
From Rockville, we went to Portland. We got on the 6th. In Rockville, we went to Oakland, California.
No, the fact that it's a Montgomery County ballot and it says Rockville at the top doesn't mean it was ever in Rockville.
Would have been mailed to them, no?
Right.
We have questions on those for you, but we're going to wait a few minutes. for the-
I was ready to ask him.
Oh, you were?
I was.
Well, okay, but we're missing two people.
I don't care. I want to get Kevin's opinion first. I do not want to wait. We have lots to do today. Okay, okay, good enough.
Okay, based on the cover suggestion, I would take a ladies.
Okay. I will go ask Kevin about these.
We got it. Did everyone else decided what to report and we wanted. That's okay.
This one. Right. And then you're gonna put the original. Like, it's about that. What I did was I did. Like basically, double check it.
Oh, yeah, well, I think. I think
Yeah.
these are done. You want to. And then I'll add it. Oh, I'll just put that out.
So if you're interested. The ones from the other Maryland jurisdictions will be sent to them. The one that has a date on the signature of, that came from New York, that has a date on the signature and no postmark to New York, that's gonna be counted as timely. The one that I think was a 5 is gonna be counted as timely. And this one, without a date on here, is untimely. So, okay. Now, I really don't want to have a whole long to do on all these other ballots with everybody. So I'll just send it down and say that ballot. All right, let's wait for his pile. We'll send that down with him. And do me a favor and don't send him away. Because
So we had too many people.
no, I wanted to have that conversation with him. And the fact that they were missing was an opportunity.
Okay, look at it as a,
Although my mic is on.
that's a feature, not a bug.
Yeah.
would get it then. think he took the money and ran. Yes. Oh, yeah, exactly. No, no. Look, clearly Alex was showing us that he was familiar. Go on, get the money. Connecting it for you. But you know, Alex, either he took the money and run, or he's crying like an eagle. Yeah. Yeah. Issue. Yeah.
Sorry, Martin, got you in the wrong spot here.
You can stay there.
You can go coming, David, I want to show you. It's passing the RG.
What's that?
That's as good as it gets.
What is it? Gluten-free what?
Oh,
Oh, okay.
but I mean, that is what.
I don't care. I don't care how it looks.
I'm just making myself feel bad that all the regular stuff is so. All right.
These are getting easier.
It gets later, it gets easier.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, she's right over there. Yeah, got it.
I don't know what the number is. A lot.
I guess as a percentage.
So do we know where this one came from?
And that's what I was asking, like, if it came from another.
Same with the one right before.
Can I get it back?
They came from the same.
Well, they might have and they might not have.
That's a great question, David.
Cause I was gonna ask you a question.
They're different precincts, so they're not from the same family. I don't know.
And it's.
But if this came by airmail, because this says par avion.
Right. Oh, yeah.
So the question is there something inside that would look different?
And will they be inspected
No,
or the voter's name? You know how. Hold on.
right, we don't even have a name to go with these, it's a name.
Right. But
We have some questions about those, because we don't have an opportunity to see the signature.
and I'm wondering, at the end of the process, Kevin, if they're open so that the voter is recorded as having voted. Yeah, there was a question there about when it.
I know this photo. Well, I know his parents.
Well, I thought you all decided if it was marked with a 6, when it was received on the 6.
We did, but I guess the question is this going to be in a new category that we want to consider? Given that it's marked on the 7th, we don't seem something like this without a return address of any kind seems odd.
Is it coming from another board of elections?
We don't know where it's from.
So is there a postmark? There's a postmark up here that is missing.
Well,
That stinks.
yeah, I can't read.
It's a load of photos though, right?
No, we can't. Well, I'm not sure what we can do. I mean, that's kind of the question, right? I mean, it's, we don't have we have a postmark here that we don't have because there's no, because it's not there. And then, yeah, but it was received on the 8th. It was processed in Gaithersburg on the 7th. What we don't know is when it went into the postal mail, because that doesn't help us. And I gather that without an oath on the outside, we have to open it or reject it. Right?
But haven't you all gone through a whole trade? I'm sure some of these were marked on November 2nd.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah, we did. I mean, I understand we have an issue there. What we didn't have is we didn't have these large envelopes with these, with this on top of it. And I understand what you're saying. We had a whole bunch of them on the 7th that we rejected. And the question is, are we going to reject the 7th simply because it's the 7th?
No, I think, no.
Well, but what's the difference?
The difference is that this coming from another board of elections, we've received a ballot that came from another. Board
See, I think this may just be someone who prints it out, a web delivered, and they put it in the mail.
They did.
But our
Cutoff so far is that it was on the 6th.
Right.
That's received on the 6th. That was going to be
right.
Timely.
But when it prints out, it does not give the voter, it doesn't put a return address on it. I mean, is this the way it comes when they do it on web delivery?
Like, David?
This piece of paper that looks remarkably similar to this piece of paper,
Okay.
right? It has the precinct number. It has, I guess, a ballot style. It has a barcode, right? Okay. So this is very similar to this, right? So it's a standard form. This has this and this doesn't. But it does not have a return address other than the barcode.
And I would be just for purposes of,
Ask Daniel.
and why would we need a return address on a
Why would we need a return address?
data center?
So I think, first of all,
I mean, for the purposes of communicating.
you're answering the question that you asked, which is fine. But my thinking is, so I'm not sure if this came directly from a voter. I'm not sure. You can help me out with something.
Right, you're asking, you're saying if it came directly from the voter, it's like every other envelope that we saw. But if it came from a board of elections, then it's possible that the voter mailed it to the board of elections, they mailed it to us. But I believe that this label, these labels are.
This should be come from another board.
Right, right.
So if we eliminate that possibility, then I'm okay to say it came from the voter.
Okay, and we're saying that if it came from the voter directly and it's marked in Gaithersburg on the 7th or later, we're not taking it.
That's correct.
And then I guess we're gonna have the same conclusion about this voter who has a postmark that is incomplete, that we cannot read.
You know, that I may have a position for it.
Well, but there's no,
Yeah.
but there's literally nothing there to tell us other than a zip code. The zip code being, if that's a zip code.
But then if there's no postmark.
That's correct.
Is there a law that says we have to accept it or we don't have to accept it?
No, but there is
The marking from the postal.
there's a
service.
marking from the postal service that we have that at Gaithersburg. Right. So, and it was received on the 8th. So we have rejected many ballots like this. The difference here is that there does appear to be an earlier postmark, but we don't know how much earlier.
That is what it is.
Correct.
Because, yeah,
Which
right.
I know that see the example where it's taking Gateway about 3 days to get us.
But we've also seen where it's taken them the same day.
Yeah.
So. Right, so the question is a portion of a postmark a reason to treat it differently? I think the answer to that is probably no.
Unless we can see a data.
And there are too many variables that I have to consider. before-
Okay. So the answer to that is no, and what you're saying is that wouldn't have come from another board of elections because it's too standard. It has to have come from the voter. And this one also does not have a return, a return.
It almost looks like that's a voter that, you know, it's got a barcode on it.
You're saying that this might be a regular ballot?
No, it's not a regular ballot.
But that may be the way it prints out. If you
You can print
If
it
you
out.
print it on, if you print it onto an envelope instead of onto a
Yeah.
piece of paper.
Right.
Whereas these voters printed it onto a piece of paper.
You know, the table can't really hear any of that, what's going on down there.
Well, what we can do about it is you can interrupt us while we're talking and then we can say it to everybody else. I mean, this Senate,
I'm just.
well, I want everyone to be able to hear, just like when you were talking to Keena, I would say, I want everybody to be able to hear. Same concept. Same concept. Yes. The concern that Daniel had was whether they had come to us from another board of elections. And the conclusion was that they likely did not because of the format on them being what they are. That is the format for web delivery when you print an envelope. And those are from different precincts. Those are, you know, they are similar in some ways, not in others. That was the concern. Because if it had come from another board, the voter might have put it in the mail in a timely way. If it comes from the voter, you know, well, it's still possible, it's less likely given the timing on that.
Hey, Kevin. We have another player for another.
The legal standards governing the postal votes.
We were just that, right? Now, the meter. What did it look like? Oh, yeah. You just want to put it for having testimony. Being constantly independent. Oh, wow, okay.
Although, no, way beyond. But if this is just gonna be the food, I think.
Are we not certain?
Well,
Oh, man, really?
you explain to me how we read that.
We can't,
No, we can't.
and we can't read up here either. The tape, will, destroy it all. We can't possibly read it. So I think we have to open it. Well. Or do we? It says November 8 on the back.
It says November 8 on the back. The question is this earlier vote?
You can't possibly read it. So the question is, do we open it or do we reject it because the other markings are what they are?
There's a song
Well,
and data delivered to the United States.
Yeah, the question is that messed up postmark and the earlier day?
Which we don't know, but we have the other postmark that is the 8th, right?
yeah, I think it
Yeah.
should be rejected.
Rejected because it's the 8th.
And quite frankly, I wouldn't be surprised if they stamped it,
Twice,
smeared it because it's plastic on it, and then they
Right.
stamped the back of it.
right.
It's certainly possible.
We can't hear over here. Were you talking? Oh, it wasn't. Okay. Hmm.
People like that one, nothing, it just makes you feel like you can do
Exactly what I was thinking, like, it was something like this.
I can't tell when
So it's, a little green. Up at the bottom. Like,
Oh.
yeah, like.
Okay.
It doesn't have it?
Why did you even have a line on that? Yes. That would be dense.
No, I heard Daniel say it.
Oh, thank you, Daniel.
Know what you're thinking me for, so be careful.
Just not say you're welcome.
They're probably a student at Ohio State University. And put their own name.
So we don't hire standard.
Some of us don't believe in the Ohio State.
Alex included. Alex
I don't think
included.
any of it, actually. There's a Wisconsin Badger. I don't know that you are either.
You know, Big 10 baby. Well, I think it's Big 20 now.
Alex ended up at Shiva for my mom, sitting next to Julian Norman. And when he heard that Alex, I made a reference to Ohio because my mother used to like to joke with people. When people asked her where she was from because of her accent, she used to say Ohio. But when I mentioned that Alex went to college in Ohio, I could see Julian gave him a look. So it was good that afterwards they worked out the fact that it was not Ohio State.
For the right thing.
Yeah, yes. So it wasn't just that Alex was next to a Michigan alum. Alex was next to a very imposing Michigan alum,
Yes.
although one of the nicest, sweetest people you'd ever meet.
That's good. But his
But-
about 250 pounds.
When I go to a dark ale,
Oh, you're telling me, man. I will say though that he and I went to a Wizards game together, and if someone looked at him while crossing the street, he would say, "Excuse me," even though he hadn't touched.
don't look cross-eyed.
No, but I mean, but he would literally, I mean, because if you are a large black man and someone thinks you ran into them, even if you didn't, you sometimes have to respond and say, "Excuse me," even though you did nothing wrong. It was pretty sad, but
Oh, like.
yeah, like, excuse me, as if I ran into you, except that I didn't, but you think I did. Or you might think I did. You look at me like, "What are you doing over there?" And, it was an example in which the world is unfair.
To feel offended, meaning the guy who was not bumped into you but had given that.
Right. Those are things we've already processed, Kevin? Yeah, okay.
Look at this fancy.
Yeah, we don't give style points for ballots.
Style.
We do not give style points. It's either on time or it isn't. They either signed the oath or they didn't.
Yeah. Handmade parchment. It's so nice of them to put a little green mark on it.
Was it a 06 or 09? Yeah, hey, I'm just asking a question. That's not. It's coming over from France, kind of like, that's the basis of the sound, it's backward. So they do A and then one and then.
No, those are the ones you look at.
Like you're monitoring.
Closely tracking all this.
The date comes with every morning. Oh, believe me, we are so.
Checking dates. We're really just confirming dates. I think we've had less than a handful that we've changed. Hundreds, right?
Well, when you think about it, what are you looking at? 145, 150,000 vote by mail ballots?
More.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, as a percent.
Hardly surprising someone waits until the 5th. Doesn't pay attention to the message, vote, return your ballot early. Gets it in the mail stream, it doesn't get postmarked until the 6th or later.
Drops it in the box. It comes into it.
It's an interesting system that's so heavily dependent upon the postal service with so many people now critical of postal.
Yeah.
Okay.
I am waiting for you to say that publicly, or else it doesn't count.
Well,
There probably is a story
You-
behind this,
you-
which I don't know.
you-
The ballot is
You,
now by
you
Dropbox.
should be willing,
Was
if
closed.
you believe that the drop boxes are the safest method of sending a mail-in ballot to the board, you should be willing to say so in public.
On a bench.
It is the safest. If you do it by US mail, we don't know if we're gonna get it on time. If you do it in the Dropbox, we do.
Got a green little stamp that goes with that.
On bench next to Dropbox, because the Dropbox was locked and, you know.
Plausible explanation.
They get there.
One of many.
I go with the drop. No, it's.
No, I mean, I think it's safe to say if somebody put it on the bench, did not put it in the Dropbox. And that's where it was found. We cannot, it was late. We, you know. Yeah. Oh, okay, okay.
The ones that are late.
You're using to say that it's the safest way, but it is. But you're telling your friends to use it. So why are you telling them to use it if you don't think it's the safest way?
Okay, team, this is getting a little boring. Let's just go ahead and do some referrals here.
Shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter. I'm willing to say my views to anyone who will listen. I'm willing to tell people I disagree with them. I'm willing to tell Democrats that the Republicans are okay. I'm willing to tell Republicans that the Democrats are okay. I am, you know, but the bottom line is still that the drop boxes are, as far as if you have a mail-in ballot, the drop boxes are the safest, most reliable way to get the ballots to us, other than personally delivering them yourself. And even then, you could get lost on the way to our office. So,
Getting to vote, it's like a statement, it would could be effectively contained too much of that.
I'm not asking you to opine on everybody else. I'm asking you to tell our voters the truth, which is that the Dropbox is the most reliable way to send us a mail-in ballot. No, we're not off the record. The microphone is on. We are not off the record. I'm not asking you for an off the record statement. I'm asking you for an on the record statement, because the only way that people are going to trust our system is if they hear people whose political views are similar to theirs, saying the truth. Okay, that's what people need to hear. It's not enough for me to go and tell every Republican in Montgomery County that our drop boxes are safe. Because some of them will not going to believe it because it comes from a Democrat. They need to hear it. They need to hear it from a Republican. Now, you and I both know that, you know, we may have never lost a mail-in ballot by Dropbox. I'm not aware of any voter who said to us, they gave us a ballot by Dropbox and it was never received. I'll bet you couldn't come up with one either. But but we have plenty of people who think that way about the mail.
Oh, yeah.
Now, that doesn't mean
Mail, never been delivered when I bought this, the same building, and put it in the slot that goes right into the basket that's gonna get processed, and that thing was never delivered, so they could have gotten it out, but it was lots of left the building, yada, yada.
and we don't know the internals of how the post office operates. So it's hard for us to, right, it could be a million different things. It could be at the other end. It could be the delivery, the mail carrier for the recipient. There's lots of different things it could be, but we do know ours. Okay,
Ready to four, John?
are we done with the, for the time being with the,
We have another group of those that are coming later on.
okay, good enough.
Here a bunch though. They came after 10 o'clock on the second Friday of,
Oh, so for those, for those, we don't even need to look at the postmarks.
the blanket motion.
Okay,
So
good.
let's start at 0701.
0701. No ballot?
No signature.
Okay, is there a motion?
Jacket, the back of the signature.
Is there a second? Any discussion? Okay, we're gonna do these by raised hands to save time, okay? All in favor, raise your hand. It is unanimous, okay. I will save the roll call vote for the things that are not pro forma.
Bill tells me, that they were able to cure a lot of, no signatures, but not all of them. So,
Okay. Glad to hear that. Okay, and anyone can look at it if they want. There's no oath in this envelope. The chair will entertain a motion. Okay, is there a second? Any discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. It is unanimous. This ballot is rejected for no oath.
all right. No.
Okay, is there a motion?
No,
No, is
Mr. President, I move we reject this on the grounds there is no hope.
there a second? Any discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. It is unanimous. Is there a motion?
Mr. President.
Yes.
I move we reject this on the grounds it contains no hope.
Is there a second? Any discussion? All in favor, raise your hands. It is unanimous. Rejected for no oath.
Yeah.
Is there a motion? No ballot.
Well, Mr. President, I move we reject this envelope on the grounds there is no ballot.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, raise your hands. It is unanimous. How are you? Good.
Oh, yeah, I've been doing it every day.
Check all the boxes. No ballot, no oath.
Is there a motion?
Go ahead, Avi. No, I move we rejected on the grounds of no ballot, no.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, raise your hands. It is unanimous.
Balance for the last one.
This is. Fully executed.
No signed oath.
Okay, this ballot, the oath is not signed. Is there a motion?
Rejected on the grounds. There is no signature.
Is there a second? Any discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. It is unanimous. No oath.
Yeah, I just like to make sure that it's not
On the back. Yeah,
on the back or it's not sort of commingled with.
okay, is there a motion? Okay, is there a second? It's been moved and seconded to be rejected on the grounds of there's no oath. Is there any discussion? All in favor, raise your hands. It is unanimous.
Right.
Wow.
Okay. Is there a motion? No oath.
Right, Mr. President, I move we reject this on the grounds that it does not contain the requisite oath.
Is there a second? Any discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. It is unanimous.
Yes, so far. Yeah. Yeah.
How are you? I can't hear you. Very nice.
Nice time.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Well, you've known enough family members that you know where it comes from. Yeah, exactly. So, yes, so thank you. Yes, that's true too.
You're a good kid. The guy you can't hear.
Okay. No oath.
Mr. President, I
Yeah.
move we reject this on the grounds that does not contain the requisite oath.
Is there a second? Any discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. It is unanimous.
No sign down.
Okay. Is there a motion? Okay, it's been moved. Is there a second? It's been moved that it be rejected on the grounds that there's no signed oath. Is there a second?
Okay.
Okay, all in favor? It is unanimous. Is this the end, Kevin?
No,
No.
we have other
We
trades.
have other trades. It's just all you could carry at the moment. Okay,
That's big.
no ballot?
Ballot.
No. No, there's an oath.
Well, no.
What's this?
Which, well, I'm gonna give it to you in a second.
Okay.
It's not the traditional oath. Look at this side. Is there something there? There's nothing on the back.
So what did they do here? They. There it is.
Okay, that one gets counted.
They folded it up so much that they couldn't find it. But the oath is there, you know, signed and dated,
Put this inside.
but they taped it shut. So, yes, it's cleverly concealed is exactly right.
Okay. We accepted.
Yeah, that one should be accepted.
Wow. Now, why wouldn't you just go ahead and sign that? Maybe I'm getting a little grumpy here, but why wouldn't you just take the easy route? You actually had to go to a printer to go ahead and do all that. Okay.
I guess they were confused.
Let me get another.
Yeah, go for it. No, it's not. No, it's not. And the voter must have gone online to find that because they had a US mail ballot. They must have been looking for the oath and didn't realize it was on the envelope.
Not doing a print out, and then they were like, "Where's the other?"
That could be.
You know? We'll just call you Santa Claus.
You know, my experience has been that this process kind of moves on a low. So if the board.
Yeah.
They haven't either done something in time, or they have not cured something, or
Yeah.
some other deficiency that occurs here. So we're at that part of the process.
You know, thank God that will only be